What if you could have or control $2 million, not just own it, not just have it sitting in properties, but control $2 million and have it flowing in and out of real estate deals consistently? As a wholesaler, you're in the deal business. As a flipper, you're in the construction business. As a landlord, you are in the operations business. But as a lender, you're in the money business. And in this video, I'm going to break down why this business model beats flipping, wholesaling, and rentals every single time. And this is part 2. In part 1, I talked about protective equity and multiple ways you could get paid as a lender versus any other real estate strategy. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, pause this video and go check out part 1 first, because this builds on that foundation. In this video, I'm going to walk you through our old real estate business structure, our new lending focus structure, and at the end, I'll show you how you can still flip and hold property even when lending is your primary business. So stay with me until the end. Before we get into it, my name is Elridge. I own and manage a multi-million-dollar lending portfolio, a multi-million-dollar rental portfolio. I have multiple 6 figures in a brokerage account, multiple 6 figures in cash value life insurance policies. But it wasn't always like this. Before my partner Anitra and I started lending, we were asset rich and cash poor. And if you're in real estate, if you're a real estate investor, you probably understand exactly what that means. You got equity, you've got properties, but you don't have liquidity. In 2019, we made the mindset shift. In 2021, we restructured the entire business model. Let me show you what that looked like. Our first business model was built around wholesaling as the lead generator. Once we generated the lead, every deal fell into one of 4 buckets. Wholesale it, assign a contract, list it, Anitra as a realtor, flip it, or hold it as a rental. That was the model. About 50% of the deals went into the wholesale bucket, 30% went into the listing bucket, 10% became rentals, 10% became flips. In 2017, our first full year with this model, we did over 70 deals. The next year we did close to 80. The house I'm sitting in right now came from a wholesaling lead. On the surface, that sounds like a great business model, right? Nope, not exactly. It had too many moving parts, especially on the wholesaling side. I was spending $15,000 per month on leads and operations. We had an acquisition manager taking calls and negotiating, a disposition manager selling properties, Anitra going on seller appointments, listing homes, and locking up contracts. We had formulas to decide which bucket a deal went into. If we could make 2.5 times more flipping it than wholesaling it, we flipped it. If the seller wanted retail value, we listed it. If the deal was just too good, we kept it as a rental. It was structured, it was organized, it was active, but it wasn't scalable the way we thought. The biggest issue with that model wasn't effort, it was the cost to acquire a customer and the payback period. Our CAC, the cost to acquire a customer, was about $2,500 per deal. That means I had to spend $10,000 before I saw my first wholesale check, because the average payback period on a wholesale deal was 4 months. Our average wholesale profit was around $11,000. So I spent $10,000 to make $11,000. Listings, the payback period 6 months. Flips, the payback period 10 months. Rentals, 10 months. So that means $25,000 to get my first check on a flip, $25,000 spent to buy my first rental, $15,000 to get my first listing commission. Yes, over time, the machine gets bigger, but the break-even window was far too long. Your break-even window needs to be in the first 30 days. And long break-even windows hurt scalability, unless you walk into this business with a massive marketing budget. It's hard to scale that business model without feeling constant pressure. Guys, if I'm adding value right now, do me a huge favor, subscribe to the channel and help us get to 5,000 subscribers. At the time of recording this video, we're about at the halfway mark. So like and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps. It truly helped this video get in front of more people. I appreciate it. Now let's talk about our business model today. Today, lending is the lead generator, just like wholesaling used to be, but the buckets are very different. 97% of our deals are private money loans. 3% are flips and holds. Later in the video, I'll show you how you could hold and flip more of the deals that come to you as a lender. Back to the 3%. You might ask, why only 3%? Because 3% is the industry standard default rate in private money lending. Think about banks. Why do banks have bank-owned properties? Because of non-performing loans. For every 100 loans, about 3 will default, no matter how strong your underwriting is. And we are not hoping people default. Let me say that again. We do not want people to default. We'd rather keep circulating the money. But this is the business we are in. Defaults happen, and when they happen, we're positioned to protect capital and stabilize the asset. Our average loan to value is 62%. So when a property defaults, we typically stepping into ownership at 62 cents on the dollar. That's not something we glorify. It's something we prepare for. I have a friend named Tyron. We both started in real estate around the same time. He's a developer and a contractor, own multiple properties. Recently, he was telling me how hard it is to find deals today. He was frustrated about how wholesalers are not bringing him good deals. He said, man, I wish spreads were like when we first got started. I told him we're still getting good deals at great prices because of that 3%. Not because we were wishing on failure, but because the business model accounts for reality. Then I remember something that this local OG lender in New Orleans, Dennis, once told me. And this was before we started lending. I went to Dennis and I told him that I didn't want to fix and flip property. I don't want rentals. I just want to lend money. He looked at me and said, "Oh, young grasshopper, you want to be in the wrong business then." He didn't say the grasshopper part, but he did say that lending is the wrong business if I didn't want to be a flipper or hold properties. And I was confused at the moment, but after 5 years of lending money, I now understand. He went on to say, if you're a lender doing 100 deals a year, 3 of them will default. Being a lender will force you to flip or hold property, even if that's not your primary business. And that story stuck with me. Even when your primary business is lending, you still own real estate. But the difference is you don't chase it. It comes with the business. If you made it this far in the video, here's the bonus. Here's how you can own even more property in the lender seat. The person with the money makes the rules. This means you can structure a deal however you see fit. They have 3 types of offers you can make to a borrower. You could be a debt investor and only collect interest. You could be an equity lending partner and have ownership in the property, or you could be a combination, lending partner with debt in equity position. But it must make sense. It has to be a win-win. As a lender, you must be creative and structure deals creatively. This is the flexibility you have as the person that have or controls money with full autonomy, not brokering. Let's say an investor brings you a 4-unit property and your criteria is lending 80% on the purchase, 100% of the construction, 65% max LTV all in, and the deal meets your underwriting standards. But the investor only have 10% down instead of 20%. Now what? Instead of saying no, you can structure a combination lending partnership. That means you take a debt position and an equity position. You finance the deal and take ownership percentage for bridging the down payment gap. The guy Dennis I mentioned earlier built over a 400-unit rental portfolio doing this. He stayed in the lender seat. He didn't deal with tenants. He didn't deal with maintenance. He wasn't managing contractors. He was the passive equity partner with debt protection. Now, you can't do this with every borrower. Long-term partnerships require trust. Underwriting a borrower is just as important as underwriting a property. But when structured correctly, this is powerful. Here are the pros of lending. Lower operation costs, lower customer acquisition costs, faster payback period, multiple ways to get paid on one deal. Right now, we spend $0 on advertising. All of our deal flow comes from organic social media marketing, networking, relationships. That immediately drops our CAC, our cost to acquire a customer. And because lending is a money model, you get paid multiple times on one deal. Origination fees, interest, extensions, equity participation. I broke that down deeply in part 1, so go check out part 1. The cons: you need capital. If you don't have capital, you have to raise capital. And if you're structuring equity positions, your money may be tied up longer. But here's the part I didn't understand at first. Capital being the constraint is actually a pro. It raises the barrier of entry. In wholesaling, you could start with $15,000 or less. In lending, you need $2 to $3 million to be competitive in your market. That weeds out saturation, it weeds out amateurs. If you could raise or manage $2 to $3 million responsibly, you're in the game. And now you're playing from the money seat. As a lender, you still flip, you still hold properties, but you don't chase them. They come through structure, through defaults, through equity partnerships, through strategic buyouts. Instead of hunting deals, deals flow to you. Instead of competing with wholesalers, wholesalers bring you deals. Instead of hoping for appreciation, you protect it on the downside first. That's the difference. You've moved from operator to capital allocator, and capital allocators control the game. If this perspective helped you, subscribe to the channel, and if you're serious about building liquidity, structuring deals the right way, and potentially building your own private money lending operation, I want to invite you to join our free finance community. Inside, we have members actively doing deals, building their own personal banking systems, getting to $100,000 and more in liquidity, and launching private money lending businesses. If that sounds like something you're interested in, click the link in the description and make sure you go watch part 1, because once you understand how to play from the money seat, you'll never look at real estate the same way again.